everyone. Welcome back to the Bellevue Club Swim Team podcast. Today, I'm super excited to have Bellevue Club Swim Team alum Kyle Millis and his Bear teammate, Reece Whitley. Thank you, boys, for being on the call with us today.
Thanks so much for having us.
No problem.
As with all new guests, definitely want to start off with a little quick rapid fire session here with Evan. And this is just for all our viewers and listeners to get to know both of you a little better.
Yep. So I'll just ask you a couple of quick questions. You can respond as quickly as you want to, or if you want to get into it briefly, you're welcome to. But why don't we have Reece, you answer first, and then Kyle, you'll go second. All right. What's your favorite ice cream flavor?
Ooh, Tonight Dough, Ben & Jerry's.
Ooh.
Mint chocolate chip.
Ooh.
There we go. Smart man.
It's simple. All right. Do you have a favorite podcast?
The Joe Rogan podcast is pretty cool.
Okay. Yeah.
Daily Wire.
Who is that?
Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
God,
All right. Do you have a favorite movie?
Ooh.
Or if it's like a series?
Reece and I watch a lot of Netflix, but
Yeah, like I can't say I'm like a movie buff anymore.
Okay.
Honestly,
favorite?
anything on Netflix.
Okay. Do you have
It's
a TV show then instead?
Oh man, that's tough. The Office. I feel like I kind of have to. We just kind of
Yeah.
we keep
Reece
that
and I
on.
watch The
we
Office.
keep that on repeat in our house
Good. That's good to
all
hear.
day.
all day.
We just
All right.
both got done watching that great series, though. What is it? The football one.
All American, great show.
Oh,
Yes.
I love it.
Great show. Great
So
show.
good.
I love it.
I'll add it to my list.
I'm
Oh
so
yeah,
happy that
if you haven't seen it, you have to see it. Great show.
All right.
I'm so happy to hear that both of you watch All American. Oh my
yeah.
goodness.
Mandatory.
Love it.
All right. Do you have a favorite music artist?
Ooh, I got too. Kyle knows I got too many, but I got to say Meek Mill because he's the poster right there.
Oh, yeah. I need to ask.
Pump up music.
I've been classic ever since Bellevue Club with me and Andrew Bowden, Drake.
There you go. All right. That's fair. Do you have a favorite vacation destination?
Well, I haven't really taken many vacations.
Okay.
But favorite place, like definitely Monaco. That was dope. I've been there, so that was cool.
There you go.
I love California. I still love going back home.
That's good. Do you have a favorite actor or actress?
Nope.
Uh-oh. To be free. Oh, there we go.
Michael B. Jordan, did you get that one?
Yeah. There we go. Okay.
All right, cool.
I like that. Cool.
It's got to be either like Vince Vaughn or Will Ferrell. It's got.
Just tall, goofy guys. You'd fit in.
Yes.
All right. Two more. Do you have a favorite pool that you've ever been to or swam in?
Yeah, Cannes, France.
Ooh, fancy. I don't know. Probably Federal Way, King County Aquatic Center. Some good memories there.
That's good.
Not Stanford.
All right. Last one. What's your favorite physical activity besides swimming?
Honestly, I've been playing some beach volleyball recently, with the boys, just to stay active. And it's honestly pretty fun. That's a good one. I really don't like running, so definitely not running.
He told me he said he's gonna go on a long run the other day, and he told me how far he was gonna go, and I was like, oh dang, that's gonna be pretty far. And then he did it, and he's like, dude, it said it was only 2 miles.
It was only 2 miles. I mean, to be fair, the Berkeley Hills are terrible.
All uphill.
It was
so
all
great.
the first mile was all uphill, and then I ran straight for a little bit, then back down. And I'm like doing the map, like I mapped it out on like this little app or whatever, and I was like, dude, 2.2 miles, you're kidding.
What is that, like 20?
Like,
That's like 20
That's
steps
Just
for
be
you.
glad it wasn't
That's
like
an easy-
1.8.
That's
You know,
an
that would
easy
be way
swim
worse.
practice. That's like a very easy swim practice. And it's
Taper.
like,
What about
For
you,
me, it's
Kyle?
got to be mountain biking. I've been going on like 20+ mile mountain bikes just around Lake Sammamish. Great time.
Nice.
Wow.
It's got to be fun.
Cool. Very cool.
That's all I got. But thank you guys for that.
Yeah.
Andrew?
Oh yeah.
Lee.
You know, or Lee, but for you guys, next step, give us a little insight on how you guys got into the sport.
Yeah, I guess I'll start with this one. So swimming came at like a very early age, not like crazy. It's not like I was 4, but I was 7 when I got introduced to the water. And it started at summer camp at the school that I was at from kindergarten literally through 12th grade. And I wanted to be in the deep water with like the deep end of the pool with my friends. And I didn't know you had to take a test. So I took the test that I didn't know about, and I failed for literally every day for that entire week. It was like a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and I went back until Friday. And failed miserably every time. And I, was a stubborn only child, which Millis can't relate to. But I hated to be told no. So I was like, Mom, like, can I get swim lessons? And, fortunately there were swim lessons also being taught out of the same pool, year round. So started with those, I want to say that fall of 07. And then I was good at it, and got into competitive swimming with Penn Charter when I was probably 8 or 9. And then it was year round from there. Stopped my other sports at 13, and the rest is history.
Cool. What about you, Kyle?
So I always had a pool in my backyard growing up. So I was in the water from like a very young age. Probably, I know on my 3rd birthday, my parents said I could go off the diving board. And before my mom could even get a photo, I was already off the diving board. So growing up in California, there's a lot of pools around, I guess. So it worked out for me. But I never actually was a swimmer. Like I was capable of swimming, and we did like races in our pool with like my brother and sister and dad and whatnot. My dad was a former swimmer and water polo player, so he always pushed me to like do swimming. And I was like, no, I'm going to be a basketball player. So I played basketball all the way through my freshman year of high school. But prior to that, I had done like some summer league swimming, and the year prior to my freshman year of high school. And I did pretty well. Someone had encouraged me to go out, so I did it, and I ended up winning like the summer league swimming championship. And then through my freshman year, I made NCS, which in California is like the equivalent of like state, because they didn't have state at that point. I think they introduced it that year. And then after that, I switched and stopped playing basketball because I realized there was a better opportunity if I wanted to go compete at the next level, to do it in swimming instead of basketball.
That's awesome. And, we've seen those basketball skills, and it's actually pretty impressive, playing against you. So fast forward here. You guys did your age group. You guys did your thing in age group swimming. How did you two end up at Cal?
So ever since I was in middle school, which is kind of when I started to know that I was good, I knew I wanted to stick with it probably when I dropped those other sports when I was like 13 or 14. And I guess I was good or whatever, for however good a 14-year-old can really be. But I had aspirations, I knew I wanted to take it to the next level and see how far I could kind of push things and push myself in the sport. And so, I'll always remember like Nathan Adrian was the only Cal swimmer that I knew, like as a middle schooler, and just the way he carried himself and obviously how he performed. But it was also like just the way he seemed, or the way he carried himself that really attracted me to, Cal in general. It's like, I want to be teammates with a guy like that. And then after, just like moving up in the sport, getting to know more guys, I realized that those Cal guys were my friends before they had even committed anyway. It was just like a great group of people that was kind of starting to form, that had a lot of interest in Cal. So, by the time recruiting started, I realized that Cal was also a really good school too. And so it just kind of fit. I had great teammates, great coach, obviously, and the academic piece. So it made it pretty easy.
Cool.
For me, going into the recruiting process, I kind of slowly like worked my way up to like which school I want to go to. Like I always had aspirations of going to like a school like Cal. Like I said, I started swimming kind of late, so my progression was kind of like, it was a very steep progression line, and so my choices of schools that I wanted to go to was constantly evolving. I knew I wanted to go to a school that had a good business school. Reece and I are both thankfully got into the business school this past fall.
Cool.
And so I knew I wanted to go to school with good academics, hopefully a good business school, and then see how high of a swimming like level I could go to. Cal was always a place for me. I was born and raised in the Bay Area, and I knew I wanted to come back to Cal if I got the opportunity to. And so with great coaches, the great legacy like Reece touched on, Nathan Adrian, Ryan Murphy, Josh Furneaux, all those great swimmers. I knew if I got the opportunity, Cal's a place for me, and it all worked out.
Yeah. Talk to us about your recruiting class. Obviously, your class was a little bit smaller. Reece, you were the big fish in your recruiting class, and there was a stat that when Kyle, when Dave finalized your recruiting class, how many of you guys were there? Or
There were five. Yeah, five. It's almost a conversation for a different time, but our class has definitely kind of fluctuated with numbers.
Yeah.
even just in a short 2-year phase. But the core of us, we have like 4 core guys.
Mm-hmm.
So like me, Kyle, Chris Jong, and Galen Penvan. And Galen was in and out his freshman year, but he's back on the team for good now. But we also have a transfer, Hugo Gonzalez, who is a much bigger fish than I am. So it's definitely cool to see our class not go from small, but stay pretty small. But we still have a lot of scoring potential in that class, which I don't think nationally people necessarily expected. It's so easy to get caught up in the media. And I felt like bad because I didn't feel like the class wasn't getting the recognition it deserved. When we were seniors in high school, it was, people kind of only talked about me, and I was like, like this kid, they say he's been only swimming for like a year, seriously, and he's like 6'6". So what is he gonna do with Cal training? He's probably gonna take that pretty far, but people only look at like what's directly in front of them. And like my roommate Chris Jong too probably would have made the A final, B final before I am this year after not making the meet last year. And obviously, we have Hugo now who, if in 10 years, if you told me Hugo Gonzalez, had a couple Olympic gold medals, I wouldn't be surprised. So obviously he's in a class of his own. So we're forming together nicely.
It's just it's actually crazy to think, when Kyle was on our team, he was obviously head and shoulders above everyone else,
Mm-hmm.
and to think that you're taller in your entire recruiting class. You guys are a tall bunch. All due respect, Chris. All due respect, Chris.
We have the tallest and shortest on our team in the same class.
Yeah, and it just goes to show you the type of guys that Dave and Chase believe in, right? I kind of want to shift gears and talk about those 2 great coaches and what they do for your team culture. So what makes Cal, the Cal men's program, so special in your eyes?
Well, it obviously starts with Dave. Really it starts with Nort. who obviously, is a legend. And kind of up until, Mike Bottom's generation and even Dave after that, Nort has always been like the backbone of the program. And just what he built from when he started. And then they were like a championship program, in the early 80s, and that's when everything kind of started. But definitely in the modern era, it's been all Dave and the great assistant coaches that he picks. First it was Greg Meehan, who's, I don't really need to say anything, it's Greg. And then Yuri after that, who laid the groundwork for the majority of the guys that are currently on the team. Like the older guys, Chase. And, Yuri is obviously a fantastic world-class coach too. And, with Chase now, who came in when Kyle and I came in, has just been a seamless continuation of excellence. And, in Chase's first year, we won a national title. So it just goes to show, the kind of people Dave keeps, his leadership circle kind of around. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I always like to joke that Chase hasn't lost a national championship in a long time.
He really hasn't.
He was with the Texas men when they beat us before Reece and I got to college. He was with the Stanford women and over the summer, but they had won a national championship that year too, and then he won with us.
Yeah. So Chase, he's undefeated.
Yeah, but he's a great coach, workaholic. He'll push us to do some crazy sets. And he is just so motivated on the sideline of the pool the whole time. Is great.
Yeah, that's something that I honestly that's something that I didn't really expect out of my college coaches when I was like in high school. Like I thought it would be much more of like a business type thing. Because college sports is a business at the end of the day, and it's about winning. But I was happily surprised by the fact that Chase and Dave are two of the most enthusiastic coaches I've ever had. Obviously, it looks a lot different. Chase is more screaming in his classic high-pitched voice. And Dave's more like rah-rah interface. I'm going to get you to run through a wall. But having that balance and having them balance each other out has been really cool. And I think that's why we're successful right now.
Yeah. And you guys mentioned, your sets and your practices that you do with these coaches. Before we get to that, Reece, you mentioned Nort, right, being the backbone of Cal. Even when he was head coach, obviously Berkeley was doing some amazing things with the men's program. Is he there often? And if so, how often is he there working with all of you guys?
So yeah, I have the pleasure of being in a small group of guys that actually do get to work with Nort twice a week. So it's the breaststrokers. So he coaches us, Mondays and Wednesdays, and I'm only in it on Wednesdays. I have sprint IM on Monday afternoons. But Nort is like the most knowledgeable coach like out there. So he comes with articles every day. Not just one, but like 3. And my locker is literally just a stack like this big of like articles and practices and just little, tips and tricks that he thinks will help us, because, he's constantly learning. Even, at 85 or however old he is now, still has the passion to come in every day. And it just goes to show just the culture that we have at Cal, and the fact that he loves this program so much that even at his age now, he is coming in invested in our guys, at least the guys that he coaches, that he's responsible for, is really cool. So
Kyle, can you kind of tie that back to someone else we know that's getting up there in age?
Yeah, definitely. So on our team, Reece, we have Coach Kloss, who definitely laid the foundation for Bellevue Club Swim Team. I can't speak on all the amazing things that Kloss has done as far as, going back to BAC and everything. I don't know that whole transition story, but I know that Kloss has been there the whole time. and brought up Coach Andrew, Coach Lee, and Coach Evan through the ranks, and he's still there. I remember my senior year, he said he was going to retire. I came back for Christmas break, and he was still there. And I was like, Klaus, what are you doing here? And he's like, oh, I still coach here. And I was like, it's great. I mean, he is always so active, and he has so many great words of wisdom. I don't have the pleasure of working with Nort, but I imagine it's pretty similar to what Klaus has done for Bellevue Club.
I love it. I love it. I know Evan, did you want to ask about practices, hardest sets, practices, and all that?
Well, first I'm curious because I know that you guys sometimes have some of those alumni kind of drop in and join you guys, and so kind of to segue into what practices and stuff like that is like what's that atmosphere like when you talk about these guys that you've looked up to before you started swimming for Cal? What's it like training with them or like having them there with you?
Yeah, Millis, you want to go first?
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, they train with us on like a daily basis. So I know that some teams have too large of a pro group that they have to have a separate group. But for us, we have such a small pro group because we make sure that Dave and Chase have set up this standard of excellence that only people who go to Cal are able to swim on our pro group. I don't think there have been like any exceptions. We had one person who didn't swim undergrad for us, but he did grad school at Cal. So it all worked out. Reece can touch a little bit more on it, but it's awesome getting to train from Ryan Murphy, my backstroke idol, all the way up to like American sprinters, like legends like Nathan Adrian, who I also get to train with. It's great stuff.
Yeah. I think at first, and Kyle can probably attest to this too, but like it probably took me like a month to get out of like the starstruck on a daily basis kind of thing. Cause I mean, literally like I went from, my summer senior year, I was training in like a 4-lane, like 3 foot deep, like 50-meter pool to try to get long course training in that I had to drive like super far to get to. And I was by myself. And then like, 4 weeks later, like Nathan Adrian is giving me freestyle tips and practice. It's like, dude, like I'm never going to be in a sprint relay in my life, but here you are like at the end of practice, helping this naive, 18-year-old kid, out with this freestyle. It was definitely a shock. But now that, Kyle and I are older, the training atmosphere has definitely turned into more of a lion's den. I don't really think there's a better way to put it, Millis, right?
Yeah, I mean, some of the pros always like to take a while to learn the freshmen. I feel like they take their time on learning them. I know some of them even make jokes that like they still don't know half the freshmen, but like by the time you're a sophomore, they know you pretty well, and they've actually been like studying you. They know how to help you. If you go to one of them for a tip, they'll tell you what they do, and they'll tell you what they see in you, and you're like, whoa, like when have you been watching me? But like they're always trying to watch everyone and to see if they can pick up something or help you in any way, I'd say.
Yeah, but then if you challenge them a little bit in a practice, that's when things get legit. That's when the real ones get made. That's what I love. It's like at Cal, you get beaten by anybody in any stroke on any day. You can get your butt kicked every day. It doesn't matter who you are, which is really cool and something that I wanted to be a part of for sure. So yeah, you definitely see some crazy things in practice.
You sound like you have a story to tell.
No. I mean, our practices are pretty private.
It's fine.
But Murph did do something one time. Do you remember that set, Kyle? Like
The short course set?
Yeah, like they were coming down for that ISL meet, but they were doing like half of what we did. It was like the off the blocks efforts.
I remember, some pretty crazy hundreds.
Murph had a different set, but what we did it was like 2 2s, 2 150s, 2 275s or maybe 200.
We did 2-1s.
It was
2-1s, 275s, 250s, or whatever.
All off the blocks, all fast. And I'm pretty sure that was a day where Dave didn't let us mix stroke. I think it was very like stroke focused. And the pros did, I think, one of everything because they had ISL like in a couple of days. And Murph went 138 and like a two back 139. And
That day, yeah.
Yeah, and he was in the first heat and went with I think Zhang and Tej were both doing freestyle, and well, Zhang beat him. I think Tej got beat actually. And he back halved him. Like he back halved them. he caught them. So that was, and I fortunately wasn't in that heat. I was warming up for the next heat. And I'm just like sitting there watching this happen. I'm like, dude,
dude, I think
Tej goes 131 and a 2 free on a relay. like what is happening right now?
I was literally shaking because I was in the fourth heat, I remember, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna do that.
So yeah, there's stuff like, but I mean, again, like that's not just Murph. Like that is like 90% of the team.
How cool is that?
People do ridiculous things in their own different way every day. So it really does make practice really cool.
That's great. Do you guys have like a really memorable set, like one of the hardest sets you've ever done, or practices that you guys can remember that you'd be able to share?
Yeah, I have one. Well, really any set at OTC. Like any set at OTC like is out of this conversation because that's just like in its own category. I feel like
I don't even remember any of the sets from OTC. I remember someone said, "Oh, it was my freshman year," I bet. And someone came up to me and was like, "Yo, have you cried at a practice yet?" And I was like, "No." And they're like, "Oh, get ready today."
Yeah, get ready, dude.
And I actually cried while I was swimming that day. I remember.
Yeah, I've probably cried like in my so I've had 2 camps, 14 days each. And I've probably had tears in my goggles, I want to say 4 times a camp.
Oh, really?
At some point. Yeah. But I'm not as like open about it sometimes, but like, dude, there are days where I'm definitely like halfway filled, like what is going on?
See, I just threw up instead of cried.
But so I have one when it was my freshman year, and this is when I knew like, damn, like I'm at Cal, dude, like this is crazy. So we had it was a middle distance stroke practice, and so everybody had like, I think it was like 6 rounds of 350s on descending intervals by 1 second until it got down to something like pretty gnarly. And it was basically like that whole stroke group had to go until they tapped out. So I think my intervals, I think we started at like 32 or 33, and then but the last round was 350s breaststroke on 28. And it was me and Prino next to each other. And before we pushed off, because we had just done 350s on 29, like 2 minutes before, and I thought I was gonna drown on those, and I was like, dude, like we're going on 28 right now? Like, is that like, are you serious? But we got it done. And I could barely move, but we're probably, like 6 mids up front, but then that probably jumped up to like 7 mid on the next one, and by that point you're touch and go. So I don't know what we went on the last one.
This wasn't at OTC though. This was at home. This was like yes.
This was probably like mid-October
freshman year, right?
Yeah, freshman year.
There was the day we did 40 50s, or 30 50s,
30,
right?
30
50s.
It was like 10. It was a 10 at pace plus 1, 10 at pace, and then 10 at pace minus.
Yeah, I think, and then the 10 pace minus, everyone was just going all out.
Yeah,
And
so
and no one had anything left either, because everyone on the pace plus one, everyone was hitting pace, and then on the pace, everyone was going faster already, I think.
I think
So by the end of it, I remember Reece went like a 26 or something, and I was like 25 high.
no,
And
Josh and I were 25s that set. I remember.
I remember Reece ended up beating me on one of them, and I got so mad. And I was like, "You've got to be kidding me! I'm doing backstroke, and this guy is doing breaststroke, and he beat me."
But to be fair, that was I remember that practice. That was the best practice of my life up until that point. Like, that was when I was like, I went my first 25, like 50 breaths in practice. And then I went like, we had like 5 of them like in the set. And I was just like, dude, like, what is happening right now? Like, everybody's balling, like Selly is flipping 20 points. Like, Murph's going 21s backstroke. What is going on right now?
I remember we did something similar this year, but I only had to do 18 of them, and you guys did 30. And I remember you guys were so mad at us because I was in the sprint group of that.
No, as long as all the boys mob at the end of the season, I don't have a problem with what we do. You know, Hoff is like the most envied swimmer on our team because he just like starts writing his own workouts like 2 weeks out of NCs, and it's like 25s. But like, dude, if that's what it takes for you to go 17.9 on the end of my relay, like, dude, I'm all for it.
And
he probably would have done it if we had NCAAs this year.
Yeah, and it just goes to show you guys like the trust that Dave has in every single one of you. You know, like the fact that he's like, hey, I have a group of men who all need something different, and between him and Chase, they're able to kind of shape a write a training program for every single one of you. Hey, this is what Reece needs. This is what Hoff needs. This is what Kyle needs. This is what Chris Jong needs, right? And the fact that you guys are so detail oriented like that is pretty impressive, pretty cool. You know, I've heard stories from Kyle, obviously, of how Dave has 4 calendars for every single year for a quad program. And he has every single day mapped out. And, you know, that's just goes to show you how detailed he is. So,
yeah, I think he probably could have told Kyle and I when we would be taking our sophomore year finals. Like during our recruit trip.
Yeah.
Well, because this would have been the 2020 calendar.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would have been there, I think.
Yeah.
Back on our recruit trip. So he has like, it's not like they're just 4 like blank calendars. Like they're like they're down
filled out.
like, the hour.
Like he's already booked the OTC. Like has like as soon as like the pro swim series come up, he's marked those for the pros and stuff.
Everything.
Like, yeah.
It's pretty cool.
So impressive. That is so impressive. Cool. Well, I think, you know, with what you guys just talked about, right? Just listening to you guys kind of reminisce about what the season looks like, what you guys all do. You know, what was the attitude like with the team? Where were you when you guys found out NCs was canceled? You guys had just come off of Pac-12s, right? You know, as Kyle mentioned at Pac-12s, many of you guys weren't shaved. Some of you were barely rested. So you were gearing up for a big NCs. And, you know, after what happened at the mid-season invite, you guys were a bunch of hungry dudes, right? So where were you when you found out NCs got canceled, and, you know, how did Dave and Chase kind of rally the troops?
Oh, yeah, like I think the sting that we felt was like 4 months in the making at that point. Because like invite, like we got to race the guys that we just beat, you know, the previous March, and they blew us out of the water. And that wasn't fun, you know. It was terrible. You know, they had clearly shown up, you know, had a pretty high level of preparation, and we did, but you know, we kind of kept our training at a pretty high clip throughout that meet. So just to be like frustrated and, you know, for 3 months and just have a great Pac-12s. Like our Pac-12s was great across the board. From guys like Chris, who could qualify for the meet, to guys like Ryan Hoffer, who you know, if you watched Pac-12s, you clearly saw that Hoff wasn't shaved, but he still popped off and had some pretty good swims. So yeah, we were on a high, I would say, after Pac-12s, and to go into practice one Thursday, normally, you know, had a great practice. You know, we thought we were gonna, you know, be national champions again in 2 weeks, and then like 5 hours later, like everything's over. So it was definitely brutal. I took it pretty hard. And I think that's just for like personal reasons, but the whole team, it was just like really disappointed about like not seeing like our NCAA's guys like get to have their shot, but also like for our seniors, who, you know, some of them wanted to swim until trials this summer, and, you know, their season gets cut short 4 months, their careers get shortened, you know, 4 months earlier than they wanted it to. And just to have them not go out the way they wanted to was tough. But again, like, and I think Millis can attest to this too, like they got over it pretty fast. And I think seeing them get over it fast kind of forced the rest of the guys to, you know, stiffen up a little bit and grow up a little bit. And then, you know, we were training up until Tokyo got postponed, and then that's when Dave kind of really took initiative and was like, all right, like we're gonna take a break and we're gonna you know, just relax and take care of ourselves physically, just to stay healthy, because something's really wrong. And, you know, Dave's like, again, like the greatest leader that I've had. So even when I was in that, like, even when the whole team was kind of in that ditch of like, dude, like this is insane. Dave was like, all right, like what's next? You know, we didn't really have a choice, but to move on. So
with you guys both, you know, you guys were supposed to be gearing up here in about a month for trials, right? For the both of you. How are you two handling this time? You know, obviously with the games and trials being pushed back to next year, how are you two handling this time right now?
No, so you can go first because I took the last question. I realized
just going off what Reece on the last question. I remember Reece was coming home when I first found out that it was canceled. I had a pretty good like feeling like in the days like leading up to it. I was like I saw like that your federal way sectionals were getting canceled. It's like, if they're canceling the sectionals, like what's coming next? And then I remember that girls NCs were up in the air, and I was coaching them on a Wednesday morning at like 6 a.m. because Dave and Chase like to have all of the guys who didn't make NCs come and help with lane lines, come and help like them if they're doing something wrong, coaching, timing, and everything.
Oh, cool.
And so the next day after that, I remember Reece was going and studying at the pool, and I got the notification on my phone from a friend. He said, dude, you see it just got canceled? So I checked SwimSwam, and sure enough, it had gotten canceled. And then I went upstairs to go console Chris Jong, and he was like pretty bummed out. He was like, dude, I just made it, but like, you know, I feel for like the seniors. I know seniors on our team, like Reece was talking about, Zhang Kwa was really frustrated after his Pac-12s. I know he had so much left in the tank, and it was a senior year. He was going to go off, and all those seniors, I know Michael Jensen wanted to get in 41, Carl Arvidsson, my close friend Ethan Young had just made NCAAs for the first time as a senior, and he didn't get a chance to do it. And so I remember Reece was coming home from studying, and he was like, dude, I just saw Chase and I cried a little bit. I don't mean to expose you at all, Reece.
No, dude. Yeah, no, that's when, that's when it hit me. Like,
yeah, when you saw Chase, like,
yeah, like it was because I was studying at like up near Speaker at like an athlete's study lounge in our gym, and I was with some of the guys, and at the time it was just like, oh dude, like this is crazy, like, but we didn't really know what to like do, so we were just kind of like okay, I guess we don't have a meet. Like, what's next? But then I was leaving to go home, and you have to walk through the swim offices to get out of this one exit, out of like the front of like our rec center, which is an easier exit for me to get home. And I'm walking through, and Chase is walking like towards me, and I'm like, dude, and he's like, yeah, I know. He's like, and he like opens up and gives me a hug that I wasn't expecting. And then like I held it, and I was like, wait, it's like, this is crazy. Like,
Yeah, it's crazy.
I didn't even like, you know, not just me, but there were like at least 10 of us that were qualified for NCs and hadn't even taken a morning practice off yet. So it was just like, you know, but again, like Dave was just so persistent about, you know, okay, so you didn't get your chance to show off. Like, you're young, you'll get to do it again. Like, just focus on staying healthy right now, and just focus on staying in shape. So when you get that opportunity again, like, you can do how well you really want to do. And that was the message pretty much from day one. And he's been in contact with us every day since, and hasn't switched up on that mission. You know, you can probably tell it's, you know, I got a goggle tan. So, you know, he's gotten us a small group to train, and our guys that are training right now, both at home and some of us that are in the pool, are definitely sticking with that mindset for now. So.
Sorry, Andrew, what was the original question?
No, I mean, I'm just asking what you guys are doing right now leading up to 2021, like how you're preparing yourselves.
Yeah, so like Reece said, he's gotten the ability to train out with a small group of guys. I know some of our other guys that are still back in Berkeley with Reece, they're only able to do dryland. So our dryland coach,
Cool.
our weights coach, has been sending out them some drylands to do every day. And so he puts on an app, so I'm able to do it up here in Seattle and everything. I'm back home in Seattle, so I'm just trying to make sure that I finish out finals well and everything. With Reece, we have a pretty hard statistics final, so we're kind of trying to lock in on school for like the next week, and then we're gonna really try and focus on training and everything. I know we've been doing it. It's kind of been like in the back of our mind coming into finals week.
Cool. That's awesome. Lee, you had a question?
Yeah, kind of bringing it back full circle to your personal history with the sport. Can you two talk on the most or one of the most inspirational or influential mentors besides your current Cal coaches that you've had on your journey? And along with that, what life lessons you guys have gleaned from the sport of swimming?
Well, I think, you know, excluding like my parents and Dave, because those are like the best like three for me. I'd say my primary club coach, from about 13 to 18, Crystal Keelan. You know, she was great with me. Honestly, like, couldn't have asked for a better coach to kind of go through my age group career with kind of like a lot that came with it. Just like handling media, having a coach that was willing to let like a camera crew in our practice or like follow me around for like a whole day at school, or be super annoying and like control the way practice functions. Like, to have like a coach so flexible with such like a unprecedented like scenario. Like, I don't think every coach kind of just expects to have, you know, New York Times telling them what they can and can't do at practice. That would probably make coach pretty irritated, but she was always down for whatever challenge was ahead of us. And again, like, an even better life coach than a swim coach. I still talk to her to this day, and it's been cool to kind of see her get opportunities like coaching the world junior team the past couple of cycles. It's been fun to watch her achieve her potential in coaching. So yeah, Crystal is definitely like my best mentor, like outside of Durden and my parents.
Yeah, kind of going off that, I would say my club coach as well, Andrew. but he was very like Reece. He kind of helped me carve my own path. And I know he does this for all of his swimmers. Like everyone has like a separate individual plan, and he helps you like get there. I know heading into my senior year, I wanted to like push myself to do something like special, which ended up like culminating in my whole senior year. It all ended up working out, going to Cal. Andrew was the one who coordinated that. I started doing like freestyle sets, but I would do them backstroke. And so like he let me like do a lot of modifications to the practices and stuff that really like helped me get to where I am today swimming. Because if I wouldn't have had that base to go do all these crazy freestyle sets backstroke, I sure wouldn't be able to, be at Cal doing those sets like at OTC, I guess, getting my butt kicked by the best.
10-300s backstroke. I remember
that's always
allowing,
fun.
And ever since you did that set backstroke, I've had more people like Katie Cross beg me to do the 10-300s backstroke instead of freestyle.
Jeez.
So
I
don't do that.
actually did
They
it
definitely know
faster than I did
10-3s
freestyle.
backstroke here. Not anymore.
10-3s backstroke faster than I had ever done freestyle. And that's why I was like, yeah, I don't have any freestyle stamina, but I know I'm going to have a good 200 back this year.
Well, it was because you wanted to do it. If you wanted to do the 10-3s freestyle, it would have been something pretty special as well. Boys, I know that with both of you guys being so high in the sport, being around people who are super motivating, and being part of a team culture that is so unique. I mean, you see that on the pool deck last year when Daniel Carr, did his re-swim and he qualified for finals. You saw your head coach like run over and slip on his butt, and it's he's famous for that. But it's just he's not famous necessarily for the slip, but he's famous for the fact that he was so passionate about his own swimmer. You guys having a big voice in the sport of swimming, what kind of words of encouragement can you provide for our team, our viewers, and our listeners during this crazy time?
Just quickly going off that little Daniel bit, Dave and Chase do that for every single swimmer.
I was just about
like
that, yeah.
going down to even myself. Like I didn't make the NCAA team, but like Dave, I feel the energy. I'm in the sprint group most days, and Dave coaches me, and he puts so much effort and from what I feel into like my swimming. He customizes the practices, so me and Ethan Young like have special practices that are different from the mid D guys, but are also separate from the sprint guys. But we train with sprint, and he like customizes it for every single person, and like cool. He has that passion for everyone. I remember after my 200 back this year, he came up to me and was like, I didn't know you were going to go that fast, but I knew you had it in you. He's like,
was that on the Wednesday night? When you
it was on the Wednesday night. He's like, I knew you had it in you. I just didn't know if you were going to do it or not.
Cool.
Yeah. I think Millis is going to have a swim within the next 2 years. It's going to make Durden slip. I can't wait for it. I can't wait for it too. But no, to answer your question, Andrew, about like advice, I think like the one thing that's helped me, it like comes directly from Dave, like what he's been harping on this whole time is that like, and he's said this publicly, so it's not like I'm giving like insider information, but he's just saying that we're not restarting in this process. This is just a pause in our process that has just extended a little bit. So we're, continuing to move through this, and like it's not over, even though it feels like it is. It's just an extended pause, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Not being in the water allows us to spend a lot more time maybe on school, or when school's over in a bit, people can take a little bit more of an initiative on that dry land strength piece. How are you going to make yourself better so that you can still move well on the other side of this? Because we all take breaks in swimming. It's just that this one was a little longer than we want it to be. But yeah, it's definitely not a restart or like a reassessment. We're just shifting what we're doing on a day-to-day basis to get the same goal just a little bit later. So
something Dave says all throughout the season is just stay on your process. He says that throughout the beginning of the season, make sure you're foam rolling and everything, getting ready for that next process. Stay on your process. Make sure you are focusing on school when you need to be. And then going into taper, he makes sure that we're doing that. And then now shifting to this new period, he just keeps reiterating, just stay on your process. Don't slip up and doing like, great, so we're out of the pool. What can we do to stay on our process and make sure, like with that goal of being Olympic trials in Tokyo, how can you make yourself better every day, I guess.
Awesome. Lee, Evan, do you two have anything else to ask the boys?
I don't. You guys were great.
Good. Yeah. Thank you. It was fun.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing your stories, guys. Really, really appreciate you taking the time to meet with us and speak to our team. Both of you, good luck during this time and in the future for this next year. And Kyle, I hope to see you soon. Reece, hopefully we see you on the pool deck soon. I know Ethan's going to be super excited that we hopped on a call with both of you now. But yeah, stay safe and stay healthy, okay, guys? And good luck.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
See ya.